not everybody's mining. So how are the rest of us making money out of crypto?
So there's several ways to make money out of crypto. The first one, of course, is mining. Second one is you can become a broker. Third one is you can run an exchange. They're not regulated. It's not like the Nairobi Securities Exchange. You have to jump through hoops with governments and stuff.
Welcome to two.mics. My name is Kelvin Moretti. Today we'll be discussing cryptocurrency, and I'm joined by a sort of crypto aficionado / expert / everything in between, Felix Karanja. Felix, karibu sana.
Hi, thanks for having me, Moretti. My name is Felix Karanja, and I'm a digital marketing consultant. On a day-to-day basis, I help small and medium-sized enterprises to scale their online presence in order to increase profitability, grow brand awareness, and to change people's lives. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me at the two.mics podcast.
Karibu sana. That sounds like a lot of things.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of things. How did you end up with in crypto? What's your crypto story?
So, I first heard about Bitcoin in 2013. A few of my friends joined, started spending their money then. I didn't have money. I was in school, but it certainly caught my interest, and I thought it's something I put it in the back burner. So for about 4 years, I didn't participate until early 2017 when there was a bubble. That's when I started buying small amounts. By the end of the year, they had ballooned to pretty significant change. But then and then the market crashed again. It was a learning experience. But then my real, when I dived with 2 feet was in 2019.
Okay.
Somebody contacted me on Telegram, said that they had an investment opportunity.
That sounds like a scam.
Definitely.
Those kinds of marketers, I'm very skeptical of them.
Yeah, trust me, my radar was just beeping. But then I said I'll listen to him. So he told me what I needed to do. He told me, I don't need you to send me any money. Here's what you can do. You need to go rent a server. You can do it. It was actually somebody from, I think, Zimbabwe or something. It wasn't like some South African country. So he told me the whole process, what I needed to do. So it was for a project called Noya. It's now rebranded to Syntropy. So I followed his instructions, and I was spending about 512 shillings per month on the server, and then I set it up. I'm not very good at coding, but I can read a Medium blog and follow instructions. So I went and set it up. It started making me money. So I participated for about 3 months, and then there were some issues, and then I stopped. But
what kind of issues? I'm curious.
So the way it used to work, the way we'd been promised was every single week they'd airdrop you a set amount of tokens, Noya tokens. So that's the project. It's called Noya. So they've got a token which is a cryptocurrency based off of Ethereum that gives you a sort of ownership of the project. And it's also got a numerical figure attached. It's like a stock, so it can rise and fall depending on market conditions, what people think about, how confident people are in the project, the number of people who want to buy, and when people are selling, etc. So I bought. I didn't spend a single dime, but so after several weeks, after about 3 months, they stopped airdropping them. So that's when I thought, this is not working for me anymore. So I just quit. Back then, the number of tokens that I'd earned amounted to something like maybe $7. I'd spent 15 at the time. So You
made a loss.
Yeah, I made a loss.
Yeah.
But I was like, it's a learning experience.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I didn't lose that much. So I went and forgot about it. So about a year later, I opened the wallet because the wallet was on my phone. So I opened the wallet, and then something interesting happened. I saw they had made from the time that they had stopped the backlog, they had cleared it. Yeah, so they'd airdropped me tokens several months earlier. But then the interesting thing was these tokens were now worth about $70.
Oh,
I thought, okay, that's
quite an appreciation.
I made back my money, so I forgot about it. Checked in December last year, they were worth 560.
Shut up.
Yeah. So, it was ridiculous. That's when I was like, okay, so I need to take this seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Let me correct something from the get-go. I am by no stretch of the word an expert in crypto.
That's why I said /aficionado.
Yeah. I'm more of a casual investor.
Okay.
So I do the things that make sense to me.
Okay.
I'll be frank, there's a lot of stuff that I do not understand in the crypto world. It's a combination of very many disciplines. There's mathematics, there's cryptography, there's computer science, there's law, there's economics, a whole slew of very complicated disciplines just merged together into one big soup.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting because that's over, what's the percentage? You invested $15 and then I don't even know that math. It's mathematician. How much was it? Over 300%. Yeah.
560.
Yeah. Over 300% appreciation. That's a very good investment. Yeah. So now, for someone who's listening, and I think most people, including myself, we do not know. I'm thinking of what to use, but we do not know anything about cryptocurrency. So how do you break it down to a complete novice?
Okay.
What is cryptocurrency? And let's start there. What's cryptocurrency?
So the thing about crypto, it's internet money. It's natively internet money. Maybe that's not the best description. So one way you could call it a digital asset, but what does that mean exactly? If you buy a fancy kit for your avatar in a game, yeah, it's still a digital asset. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So even a song is a digital asset.
Yeah, with the cloud on Spotify. Yeah.
So it's a way of storing value electronically in a way that is able to be passed very quickly, relatively cheaply, and
discreetly.
What do you mean by discreet?
Yeah, the government is not on your business. They don't know what you're doing.
Okay, there's a lot of transparency with blockchain. With the blockchain, because like for example with Bitcoin, every single transaction is visible on the ledger. So okay, the way I like to do it is to use Bitcoin as an example, because this space has grown so much. Initially it was just Bitcoin and a few players, Ethereum and the like, but now it's so big. There are people, there's all sorts of projects doing all sorts of crazy things. But
so essentially what is cryptocurrency? You're saying it's a tool of storing value digitally. There's a lot of mention of blockchains and all these fancy words. Kindly explain to us what that means.
So
and wallets and all that nonsense.
So you mentioned three terms that I want to dive into: cryptocurrency, blockchain, and wallets. So let's start with blockchain. The technology that enables all of these magic to happen is called blockchain technology. So blockchain is a fusion of three technologies. A huge component of it is cryptography. There's a lot of mathematical equations that allow the whole thing to run, and of course there's computer science. But the underlying technology, I've butchered that description, but I've forgotten the names. But essentially the way it works is you've got this trustless system. It creates a trustless system. What I mean by trustless is, whereas if you're working in a company, you need and you want some expenses signed off, you need to go speak to your boss, somebody has to go approve and sign something. With the blockchain, things happen automatically. There's the contracts are able to, okay, let me not mention contracts, but the way it works is a blockchain is a ledger. Let me describe it that way. Blockchain is a ledger, and every single transaction that happens is recorded on that ledger, and everybody who's got access to that ledger can be able to see everything. Now, what makes it decentralization? So what makes it interesting? What its main appeal is the decentralization aspect. What I mean by decentralization is, if let's take M-Pesa as an example. If M-Pesa was to be hacked, all you'd have to do is hack Safaricom systems, yeah. But so if you're able to hack Safaricom servers and their backups and, change a bunch of stuff, and it's compromised. I don't know what security they have, but it's one singular point of failure. If you're really determined, you can mess it up if you want.
You can make the entire system collapse.
Yeah, precisely.
By hacking Safaricom. So how does that contrast with crypto?
So what the blockchain enables is, instead of that ledger being owned by a central entity like Safaricom, it's instead owned by many parties. It's the same copy, but it's stored on very many different devices. It's sort of a peer-to-peer network. It's sort of if you've used torrents, if you understand how torrents work. Yes. So everybody
embarrassingly I've used torrents.
So if you've used if you understand how torrents work, then it's the one file that's hosted on very many computers. It's the same thing with let's we're using Bitcoin as an example, right? So the Bitcoin ledger, if you were to join the Bitcoin network, the Bitcoin blockchain, you'd have to download the ledger. It's something like 300 GB at this point.
Oh.
Yeah. So you install it into a local machine, so you have a copy. And every time a transaction happens, it's not just updated on your end, it's updated on every single person who's connected in the network. Their node is updated. So a singular point of connection is called a node. You might hear me say that several times. So if my computer gets hacked and somebody comes and changes the transactions, then by the other computers, it needs to be counter-checked with the other computers in the system. And if
there's a
bunch
disparity.
of them, yes, exactly. If there's a disparity, then that transaction is cancelled.
Oh, really?
Also, there's a time limit. So a transaction can't be processed immediately, or rather, a block can't be processed immediately. There's usually a time. It's time gapped, so that in case it takes about 10 minutes, on Bitcoin. So if somebody was to hack the Bitcoin ledger, they'd have to change
the entire ledger, so to speak.
Yes, and for you to be able to change it effectively, you need to have control of at least 50% of the network.
Oh, and that's a lot, yeah?
That's the kicker. So if there's 1 million connections, if there's 1 million nodes on the Bitcoin network and you want to hack it, you'd need to go and invest in 1 million nodes, so at least 1 million nodes, so that you have enough power
to be able to, So now, this blockchain technology cuts across all cryptocurrencies.
Yes. Yes, that's the fundamental technology that allows it to happen. It's blockchain. However, nowadays we are seeing some other iterations of the blockchain that lack the decentralized aspect. Like, for example, what Binance are doing with Binance Smart Chain. It's hosted on about, I think, 12 or 32. There are not that many servers. Like there's a preferential voting system or something. So it's not decentralized per se. So it's a bit more centralized. It's controlled by one entity.
And that
small group.
Which kind of beats the point of having crypto in the first place, because the idea is to decentralize the entire economic system, so to speak. It
depends on what you are trying to achieve. So there's an argument that can be made that by having it being controlled by very few entities, that you can have faster processing times of transactions. There's some certain advantages to
how long now with the very many different you call them nodes that maybe a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin might have. How long does a transaction take to be processed?
Each block contains some information about. It contains the data that it's meant to hold, and it contains the transaction details, the hash of the previous block, and the hash of the block that's going to be succeeding it. So between when a block is approved so that it's added to the blockchain, there's usually a 10-minute gap, and the reason for that is if a malicious hacker was able to change one transaction detail, if they were able to amass all the computing power that they needed to change the transaction details and have other blocks and have other nodes in the system approve it, they'd need let's say they change a transaction that happened yesterday, 24 hours ago. But by this point there's a whole bunch of other transactions that have happened. So it will not only have to recalculate the transaction, the block, that particular block that was changed, but it also have to recalculate. The system would also have to recalculate every single succeeding block after it and change the information. The reason why air gapped, where there is that 10 minutes gap
Period.
yeah, is because if let's say there's another 100 blocks that have been processed after that one, then it's going to effectively take you at least 1,000 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, and in today's world where computing power is so
Super.
much,
That's not a big request.
yeah. So that's why they added the time limit. So by that time, if somebody was able to spot that there's something malicious happening, they can intervene.
They can intervene and stop it.
Yeah, but the system is made, like I said, it's trustless. It's made to work with very little human intervention.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now let's go to wallets. And for example, now I'm curious, even as you explain the wallets, are you investing in Bitcoin? What kind of cryptocurrency are you investing in? But that's classified information.
No, it's okay. I don't mind sharing. I've bought, I don't know, at this point maybe 500 different coins. I can't honestly name them all.
But let's maybe Bitcoin. I assume that
so I've got some Bitcoin, I've got some Ethereum, I've got Binance Coin. I play that a lot. I've got Pancake Swap, the Pancake Swap token. Yeah, so I'm going to mention a whole bunch of things you never heard of. Most people just know Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin.
And Dogecoin because of this guy, the Tesla guy.
Yeah.
So now let's something like Bitcoin. How many Bitcoins exist? And there is a way in which people. How many Bitcoins exist?
So the way Bitcoin is made, it's supposed to have a finite amount of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
There's a finite amount of Bitcoins that are going to be minted. So the way it works is every time a block is calculated and it's added to the blockchain, the machines that took part the nodes that took part in calculating that the block, they are rewarded with Bitcoin. So that's what it's called mining.
Explain that a bit more, because for my mom who's in Kibogua, somewhere in Meru, to understand, what do you mean by mining, and what do you mean by the finitude of the number of Bitcoins that can exist?
Mining is the process of solving the equations that
break it down.
So
dumb it down, so to speak.
Yeah. So for a computer, for a block to be processed, there's a lot of complex mathematical equations that have to happen, and for that to happen, it means it needs some computing power. So in a way to incentivize more people to add nodes onto the network, they're incentivized by rewarding them with Bitcoin.
So the idea is these Bitcoin guys, they realize the computing power is very heavy. So for you to for us to have these nodes that are very critical to the entire infrastructure of Bitcoin, they kind of came up with the system where if you bring your computing power onto the system, you're rewarded with the Bitcoin. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, but look at it.
Am I oversimplifying it?
That's a good oversimplification. Look at it this way. Google invests a lot of money, and Amazon and Microsoft invests a lot of money in buying servers and having these server farms, which is basically just raw computing power. For you to be able to quickly pull up something online and check something online or insult somebody. There's a lot of investment that has been made to make that process
seamless.
Very simple. So instead of because the system isn't made to be run by a centralized organization, you want individual people contributing. And so when they contribute their computing power, they are rewarded. So when your computer is involved when your node is involved in solving for a particular block, there's a reward. There's a reward system. There's a way you can even check it. There's a website for checking it. I'm sorry, I can't remember it at the moment. But yeah, you can check each code. You can check the number of nodes that were involved in. You can check each block as it's minted. You can not minted. I'm confusing the terms, but you can for each block that is processed, you can be able to see the block details, and you can be able to see how many which nodes took part and the amounts that they were rewarded in terms of Bitcoin. So that's what they call mining. But now the thing about mining is that the number of Bitcoins that can be mined are halved after every is it 18 months? There's a set period. I'm not sure.
Like what was it called? The one where we used to this half-life.
There's a sort of half-life thing.
There's sort of a half-life.
Yes, the number of
the
bitcoins that can be.
decaying. Okay.
Precisely. And then the way the Bitcoin the Bitcoin software has been programmed is that there's a finite amount of bitcoins that can be mined, which is 21 million.
Okay.
Right now, if you go to coingecko.com, it can show you, or coinmarketcap.com, it can be able to show you the number of bitcoins that are in circulation, and it can show you how many and out of the total. And then also the way it's programmed, it's that it works in such a way that the very last bitcoin is going to be mined in, I think, 2140 or 2040. I'm not sure. It's one of the two. So
so then what happens that I hear there's a lot of bad press that Bitcoin gets as a result of, and basically crypto, as a result of mining and the coal industry and energy consumption. I don't get the
correlation.
Yeah,
it's because there's a lot, like I said, the computing power that's required is immense. And what now you need to trace is what is the source of the computing power? What's the source of the electricity that they're using? So China, for example, why they've been criticized, why Bitcoin is tied very heavily to coal emissions, because the China, which banned Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies this year, a lot of them rely on coal. Non-renewable sources.
So it's an issue of the country that is maybe behind a lot of the computing power behind crypto, using the wrong kind of, so to speak, the wrong kind of energy source.
Not just the country, but even the people behind it. And so computing power is one thing. There's another challenge that comes with when you have immense power, and that is cooling. So computers generate heat.
Yeah, so
especially and like I said, the complex mathematical equations require a lot of computing power. Computing power definitely going to generate a lot of heat. So
actually, I was seeing something on Google. They are pushing their servers into the sea to lower the cost of cooling their servers.
I've also seen some interesting people who set up their server, their mining operations in places like Iceland, where it's cold. You have a room made of ice. And it's just dissipates. So you essentially don't have to pay for heating, just have to pay for electricity. But now the problem, so if you are to mine Bitcoin, for example, the machine that you need a special machine to be able to mine it. Initially you could mine on a regular computer, the old computer, but nowadays you require some special hardware. That hardware, first of all, is going to set you back like maybe $5,000, somewhere within that range. And then the amount of electricity it consumes in Kenya, it's something in the region of 30,000 shillings per month.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Wow. So then all these efforts, how many Bitcoins do you get?
So again, it depends on the amount of power that you're contributing to the system.
So they will reward you.
Yeah.
So if Kelvin today comes and buys this super expensive Pro Box of a computer, and I'm willing to pay the price, I will get rewarded.
Yeah, essentially. But remember, the number of bitcoins that are mined have after a certain amount of period, a certain period of time, and also Ethereum actually also changed the algorithm recently, so miners are not making as much.
But I have a question, because what is stopping someone from? I don't believe that $5,000 is beyond the reach of most people in the world, and 30,000 doesn't feel a lot for some people. I mean, we're in the wash capital of East Africa. What is stopping everyone from doing it? Like,
first of all, ignorance.
Okay,
and then
fair enough.
Secondly, it's a new frontier. It's scary. You're investing all this money in something that's not been proven, and then you go on news and Google and see, all sorts of bad press about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. You hear all about all the scammers and all the funny stuff that's happening, and then you hear from very authoritative sources, heads of central banks speaking up against Bitcoin and the like.
It's a bit scary.
Yeah, so it would definitely confuse a lot of people. Even the Chinese government banned cryptocurrencies entirely. Although that's because they're launching their own crypto. Yeah,
so exactly. Now that brings me to the next point. Not everybody is mining. Not everybody is mining.
Yeah.
I'm sure you are not mining.
So the
Are you
operation,
mining?
the operation I mentioned earlier, actually, when I set up the server for Noya, that was actually a sort of mining
sort of
operation.
mining,
Yes, because
okay.
I was contributing computing power.
So, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So, not everybody's mining. So,
Yeah.
how are the rest of us making money out of crypto?
So there's several ways to make money out of crypto. The first one, of course, is mining. Second one is you can become a broker. Third one is you can run an exchange. 'Cause, they're not regulated. It's not like the Nairobi Securities Exchange. You have to jump through hoops with governments and stuff. But you can launch as long as you're doing clean business. Or not so clean, but you'll get caught eventually. The other one is trading. So trading is...
You buy and then you resell.
Yeah, and that's why cryptocurrency is in the news all the time. There was a Bitcoin launched the ETF earlier. The first Bitcoin ETF was launched earlier this week. And it led to Bitcoin reaching nearly the all-time high. It's all-time high, yeah.
So now I would ask this. So trading. I'm sure one Bitcoin right now is trading at how much? Was it 60? 60 about one Bitcoin is trading above $60,000.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a quarter of that. I don't even know where I can get that kind of money if I wanted to. So
yeah, 66,000 is about 7.3 million shillings.
Exactly. So now a question would be asked, because all these people are trading. They don't. I'm sure they don't have this kind of money. How is it? How is it broken down? Is it one Bitcoin that has
it's one
smaller
Bitcoin.
values that can be broken down, or what's happening?
So the thing about Bitcoin and essentially all cryptocurrencies is that they are fungible. What when I say fungible, what I mean is it can be broken down into you can
just like a normal currency where you would have 1,000 shillings and then shilling, you can break it down.
No, it's even bigger than that.
Oh,
you can take 1 shilling, not 1,000, 1 shilling, 1 Bitcoin, and divide it by 1 billion times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you have 0.001 of a Bitcoin, so you can have 1 billionth of a Bitcoin, you can own 1 billionth of a Bitcoin, you can send 1 billionth of a Bitcoin, send 3 billionth. So it can be broken down. You can just buy as much as you need. The larger question you'd asked about trading was how. So there's a lot of parallels when you look at the crypto market. There's a lot of parallels between the crypto market and the stock market, and also the forex market. If you understand how to trade on one of those two, because they're already established and they're trusted, and there's systems all around the world that control those two industries, then you can understand. You have a fairly good basis for understanding how the crypto market works. Yeah, but there are some parallels, but there are also some stark differences. Because, like I said, it's a combination of very, very, very many disciplines.
So now what you're saying, to answer my question, to understand you're answering my question, is that this is 1 Bitcoin, but you can be able to buy a share of that Bitcoin that you can be able to sell when the price is...
What do you mean by a share?
When it's funged, so to speak. Yeah, you can get a funged value of that Bitcoin.
A Bitcoin is worth 66,000. Sorry. So a Bitcoin is worth 66,000, and you can say, instead of buying a Bitcoin, I don't have enough money to buy 1 Bitcoin, but I can buy $100 worth of Bitcoin. Yeah.
So it's you're not necessarily like owning a quarter Bitcoin. You're owning $200 worth of the Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Of the $60,000.
Yeah.
So who owns this 60 that I'm buying from? So
that's just the market price of 1 Bitcoin.
So Kevin bought a Bitcoin, and then did he put it out in the market and people bought small parts of it, or what happened?
It's like when you go to the market and you see nyanyas are being sold for 10 shillings each, and say, I don't have 10 shillings, but give me nyanya for 20 cents.
They just cut for you like a small piece.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Bitcoin may reduce in terms of its size, or is it bits?
You get a chunk.
There has been a lot of negative press about Bitcoin, and the fact that we are having a currency or a means of trading that is very, very, very malleable to forces outside of its I would say, falsified bubble of control, in the sense that if someone like Elon Musk's, that time Elon Musk sent a tweet and it's basically affected the investment. People lost a lot of money.
No, it wasn't Elon.
No. My point is this.
Okay.
Someone can put out a tweet. Someone can make out a statement. The government, China can decide to ban them.
Yeah, actually, China is what affected the price of,
and it
caused the market
cascades.
crash in May.
Exactly, and it cascades across the entire economy of the Bitcoin. Why is it? Why should someone invest in why do you think someone should invest in crypto if it's so risky? Or do you even appreciate that it's risky? Let's start from there.
Yes, it's certainly risky. I mean, you're reinventing the entire financial system. There's risks attached to that. That's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
And pretending otherwise would be a lie.
Yes.
Why should you invest in Bitcoin if you believe in the internet?
Everyone does. I mean,
there's still some skeptics. As a matter of fact, the internet received a lot of bad press in the 90s. And Bitcoin, cryptocurrency rather, is just the next iteration of the internet. And it combines the change in the financial system and the evolution of the internet into a similar thing. I saw an interesting video that talked about the financial systems that we've had. And they usually change. They usually change after something like 30 years. So, I mean, when the dollar was taken off the gold standard, and then, before that, there was another financial system that was in place before that. 30 years before that, there was another one about 27 to 29 years before that. So I think Bitcoin is just inevitable. It's evolution. It's two evolutions that have met.
I think my personal opinion is that Bitcoin, I might be wrong. There are people who believe that Bitcoin is the future. I'm not wholly convinced because someone said governments are cartels that we're allowed to rule over us. These cartels...
Yes. And that's the thing. Cryptocurrencies, especially the decentralized ones like Bitcoin and Ethereum, what they do is they take the power from government.
From the government.
Because there's one thing we saw last year was that governments can simply print money.
But now, you see, now the question becomes this. The point of printing money is essentially a very important point in the sense of being able to control, being able to stabilize the means of exchange, right? Trade has become, when you print money, what you're doing is this. You're saying we are seeing a situation where we can have a problem into the financial system. So let's do certain things. Yeah, central bank is basically an arm that does certain things to stabilize the economic system.
Precisely, it can manipulate.
Exactly.
Manipulate the economy.
So it kind of gives stability to the economic system, gives stability to the economy. But now
that's one way of looking at it.
Economies are very. I want to say mobile, but I feel like that's not the correct word. But they morph a lot. There's a lot of morphology that happens in an economy. And unchecked, right? If you don't put correct measures in place, a lot of bad things can happen. That's why we need a government to control. We need someone who's able to control it.
Now, my problem with printing money is this. Not just my problem, but I think the problem with printing money. You've not created any extra value. We just printed more pieces of paper with nothing really to back them. And that's the problem that was unleashed once the US dollar was taken off the gold standard. I don't know if you're familiar with what that means.
I know.
Yeah, precisely. So before then, each dollar that was printed, maybe for the people who don't understand, there was a time. Okay, the way the banking system originated was people would take their valuables to banks, and banks would give them.
It was actually gold and silver.
Gold, and the like. And banks would give them a note, a piece of paper that said, we've got
a certain value.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of gold, you can come, that belongs to you.
Yeah.
So over time it changed, and they were able to they're able to offer denominational notes so that people, instead of having to come and withdraw
The entire stash.
and then bank it again so that you can take a small amount out.
Yeah.
You can just give somebody some paper and tell them
aspect of it.
just a small fraction. Tell them,
But you see now what happened.
backed.
Even back then, credit once the bankers realize that they can be able to, on this goal that is held, they can be able to create money out of thin air. Not all the money was backed by gold. There's a huge sizable chunk of it as was backed in gold, but this extra money that the banks made out of credit. Credit essentially is what changed the entire game, and that's why we go to a place where the governments realized we can just get it out of gold standard, and the currency will be floating safely.
No, that's a challenge.
Why is it a
There's
challenge?
a lot of
I'm
experts.
curious.
There's a lot of experts who say that it's going to. First of all, it's not backed by any value.
And that is not a problem.
That is a problem.
The reason why I do not think it's a problem is this: when we have basically money is use accepting a piece of paper that is not worth its value in exchange for something else.
Exactly.
It's a trust system. Because, for example, now, what was it called? I forget the term in economics, but where, say, when we specialize in our different fields, I'm producing a remote, you're producing, your earphones, and your Kabingo is producing his shoes. You'll be very lucky if I come and I coincidentally, you need my remote and I need your, what I said you're producing, and I need your
Headphones.
And your headphones, and you'd be very lucky.
That's why they that's why they agreed.
Now we have a third party called money that can be able to store value. We can be able to I would say note value to so that we can use it as a medium of exchange.
Precisely. Let me just pause you there.
Yeah.
What is money?
Money is a medium of exchange, essentially.
So, which means it's not the piece of paper that you put in your pocket.
It's literally anything.
It's literally anything that both of you people agree has value, right?
Anything that we want to exchange. Yeah.
And
it doesn't have to have value. You might want to exchange this guy at this moment because he's making noise in the background.
But you two have to have some sort of consensus that this is valuable to me, it's valuable to you. You can do X, Y, Z with it.
Definitely.
So money historically has usually been commodities like gold, silver. There was a time when it was cowrie shells. There was salt, beans, pepper.
There's time it was pepper.
Purple cloth.
All that, I get.
But now we've come to understand money as pieces of paper that aren't inherently valuable.
But the value of the money is the fact that they are backed by a government. The government it's the guarantor of this piece of paper. If I printed my piece of paper, no one will take it.
Sure. Now, that's the problem. What happens when the government goes rogue? What happens when the government says we're just going to print more money so that we can the powerful people in government can become more richer?
Fair enough.
And it happened in Kenya in the 90s.
But
look at Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, let me just explain. Hyperinflation in Zimbabwe got so ridiculous. If you went to a restaurant and asked for a cup of coffee, they had to bill you before they made the coffee. Because if they made it and you drank it, by the time you were finished with your cup, the price would have changed.
You see, I fair enough. But then I'm saying this. What you have done is that you've given me examples of you've given me one of the two or three bad examples that everyone goes to. Right? I think there's Zimbabwe, there's Venezuela, and I want to say Greece for some reason.
There's no good example of people who printed money.
Just let me. Well. And then the example of Kenya you've given is actually it was as a result of an IMF's austerity measure to devalue our currency for them to be able to support us. So no. My point is this. We can point fingers all day long at government printing money, but these are usually majority of the times intended to stabilize the economy, one, and to stabilize the currency itself. That is my point.
That's the excuse.
It's not an excuse.
Sometimes
it's a practical way of. Do you know how there's something called the economic cycle. Fair enough. I know you're going to say it's caused by the monetary system, but the tools of controlling inflation are usually printing and withdrawing money from the economy.
Okay. Here's an interesting statistic.
Yeah.
About 80% of all US dollars ever minted were minted
last year
in 2020 and 2021.
True.
What does that mean when the government can just hold up? Let's just think about that. The US as a country has been around for 300 plus years.
Yeah.
So something like that, close to 300 years. 1776. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what, 200, close to 250 years. 80% of the money ever printed in that country was printed during a short 18-month window.
Fair enough.
What does that mean when the government can just come and print money? This thing that we've come to accept as a store of value.
Here's another statistic I can share. Do you know I think in the world, let me check actually. It's usually a tenth, as in I think let's even assume it's $70 trillion. That is what people claim to own in their bank accounts. The amount of money in circulation is a tenth of that. So, and I know it's
just a second. You're referring to that in US dollars, yeah?
Yes, I'm using.
What happens if you can just print US dollars? It means even the point of reference is skewed.
Yes, fair enough. That's a very strong point. But then, all I'm trying to tell you is this: these measures are not usually rigid. They're not usually cast on stone. There are ways of getting that money that has been taken into the market outside the market. There's a way of exactly
monetary policy.
Yeah, there's monetary policies that can be able to remove inflation. There are ways in which you can be able to remove that money that is in circulation back into the government itself.
It's interest and inflation. Central banks.
Sorry,
central banks do play a role in setting the inflation in the country.
Yes,
and that in itself is a hidden tax.
No problem.
And that's why the whole area of cryptocurrency is becoming so big. It's because people are, they're having like that man in the Bible who had the things that blocked his eyes and then they were removed. Saul, I think, now they can see. They're seeing that we've been hoodwinked for so long. We believed that there was, what the authority said was the truth and the only way of life, but now they're looking at alternatives. How much, what's the average savings rate in your bank? If you deposit money in a savings account, how much percentage will you get at the end of the year?
3 or 2.
Yet our inflation rate is 7%. You've essentially lost 4% of your money.
That means we are having greedy banking. A greedy banking system. It's not an issue of the government.
Government is the one that sets.
So now
has a role in setting
Kevin,
inflation.
I have a question. Because I see what you crypto guys are trying to do. Now this has turned into a political discussion, not a commercial one. But it's interesting because I'm curious. Right now, in this podcast, we are using electricity, right? Electricity that is enabling us to have a good experience. So what you guys are suggesting is to defund the government, right?
Not necessarily.
But no. Because I'm curious, when a lot of revenues from the government usually comes from the transactions that people do, and taxing those transactions, because if we are going to have a system where crypto takes over, it essentially means that all the government dollars or shillings are going to stick in our pockets, right?
It's going to be worthless pieces of paper.
But now the question becomes, where does the government, the first question, where does the government get its revenue to be able to enable you, as citizens, to be able to access affordable healthcare, build infrastructure? And the second point is, yes, you have these transactions that you're doing on the crypto platform, But one of the most important critical government roles is arbitrating contracts and enforcing those contracts and protecting the people who are doing these contracts. Let me finish
I
my
love that
point.
you mentioned that.
So now I'm curious. How do we reconcile that? If today I buy your shoes and you pay me in crypto and I run away, how do you make sure that I'm punished?
Okay.
Start with the first question.
So the first one, there's something I mentioned.
Turns out you have to do your hand in with this way.
There's something that I mentioned earlier. You are reinventing the financial system. It's not going to be easy. A lot of things are going to be overhauled. The way things work right now in 30, 50 years are not going to be working the same way. Here's an interesting example. There's something called, I don't know if you've heard of these, they're called fan tokens. So clubs like Lazio, Juventus, Manchester City, PSG. So these clubs, what they're doing, they're introducing something called fan tokens. And what they essentially give you is the more you have, okay, that's how you show your loyalty to the club. How loyal are you to Manchester City? I am loyal these tokens worth. Okay, and the more tokens you have, at some point they create tiers. So if you have a set number of tokens, you can participate in decision making in the club. Like who do you want to be your kit sponsor, for example? What kind of design do you want on your kit?
Who do you want to sell?
Yeah, exactly. Player transfers. You can even start debating. When the club holds the AGMs, once you have enough of the tokens, it earns you the right to be able to. It sort of gives you a vote.
Yeah.
It's the thing about crypto in general is that it democratizes a lot of things. Now, if I mention democracy in the actual world, there's a lot of examples for why democracy is broken. There's a lot of ways you can play around with it.
A lot of things are broken.
Yeah.
A lot of things are broken doesn't mean you should ban them to the ground.
I'm not saying that's the thing. I'm not saying ban them. I'm just saying they're going to have to be reimagined or find a more efficient way of doing them. For example, here's an interesting use of blockchain technology. So let's take something like Wikipedia. Okay, so Wikipedia, you've got an entry for Jihad. At the moment, there's just one page for Jihad. What blockchain would be able to help you is to be able to get a more nuanced look at Jihad. So you can, instead of having Jihad, you have Jihad from the point of view of the Americans. What do Americans think of Jihad? But what do African Muslims think of Jihad? What do people in the Middle East think of Jihad? What do Chinese Muslims think of Jihad? Get a more all-round view. You're not necessarily breaking down whatever is there, you're building up on it or refining it. Crypto can really, really help you there. Secondly, you mentioned enforceability of contracts.
You've not answered my question.
Oh, sorry.
The first one. Like, where does the government now make money? How do we make sure that the government is getting its revenue?
No, that's
to do government things.
As I said,
because you don't want to go at the airport.
Very complicated stuff. But I think China is exploring. China, El Salvador. I think El Salvador is an interesting case study because they're essentially taking up Bitcoin as a form of government as legal tender in the country.
But there are those government issued coins. I read that about them. So now, unless
some governments are doing that.
Yes.
China is also planning to roll out its Chinese yuan. Now, the thing about, as I said, there's a lot of transparency. Anybody, when you're working on the blockchain, anybody who's got access to the blockchain can be able to see all the transactions. Yeah. So which essentially means the government can very easily be able to track where you're spending your money. And if they say the physical money is no longer accepted, everything has to be virtual, then they've banned all sorts of other cryptocurrencies because now there's something called privacy coins, where instead of having a transparent ledger, everything is done behind closed doors, and it's very, very hard to see what's going on behind them.
Okay, fair enough. So maybe a solution could be government having their own coins,
government issuing their own coins, setting up a way of tracking. It's not going to be easy. That's the thing.
My point.
Governments will have to adapt. Okay,
that's my point.
Because they're also getting disrupted. That's the one thing that really scares them. They realize that their power is at threat. By a democratized way of doing things. And cryptocurrency and the blockchain enables you to do that very, 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 very smoothly.
So the second point.
Yes. So you talked about enforcement of contracts, and I thought that's a very interesting one because Ethereum's key advantage is that it's programmable. What programmable means is that you can be able to set up systems, you can be able to set up code that is going to automatically execute based on certain conditions without any human intervention. And once they're called smart contracts, and once the contract is published, then it's there and it's there forever. You can't take it down. You can't change it. I'm not sure if you can take it down, but you can't change it. Examples of smart contracts in use: there's going to be a time, as ridiculous as this sounds, there's going to be a time when it's going to be much safer for you to buy land using the blockchain route than going to a government office. Why? Like I said, everything is trackable. You can be able to see this piece of land. And that's why when you have things like NFTs, called non-fungible tokens, a piece of land has a digital asset representing that, the physical asset. And once that physical asset, once the digital asset is minted, you can be able to see the way as it passes down. So there's no issue of somebody saying
selling a fake asset.
Yeah, or saying I have a title deed.
And
I own a piece of land, and somebody else comes and says I have a title deed for this piece of land. How do you prove whose is right?
So fine, but now I'm saying, so that is in the distant future.
No, smart contracts already.
No, I'm talking about like migrating our entire. I would say
certainly that
system.
That's going to take a bit of time. But right now we've got smart contracts that are already working. You say if XYZ conditions are met, send 3 Ethereum to 3 ETH to Billy, for example. Yeah.
So now, I feel like that also doesn't answer my question. So how do we? Because the government is a caretaker, and the government is a service provider. The government is a caretaker, and so if we take down the stability that we have, right? If you're going to take down the stability, and this stability is heavily predicated on the amount of money that this particular entity has.
You remember I mentioned the term trustless.
Trustless, fine, but
so the way these systems are built, they're built such that they require very minimal human input in order for things to be confirmed that they're working the way they're supposed to be working. So in the case of now, if somebody was to come up with in the case of land, if somebody was to be able to come up with a title deed claiming that they own the same piece of land, then the government's role, when you go to court, is actually a bit more simplified, because all they need to do is do an audit of the blockchain. You see, but now their work is actually, their role is actually going to be simplified in terms of arbitration, in terms of enforcing contracts.
No, I'm asking. I bought a shoe from Xi Jinping in China, and I'm sitting in Kino. And how do I?
You'll be banned.
My question is, how do I make sure? How someone who's in a completely different jurisdiction, because the current system, how it exists, is that there are checks and balances that makes sure that before my shipment has been dispatched on the other end, payment has been made on the other end, bank to bank, right? So it's a bank to bank transaction.
So there's things like escrow, even in crypto, the world of crypto, there's escrow services.
Okay.
So you send money, it's held by. So there are things called automated market makers. And decentralized, they're called DAOs. The broader term is DAOs. So the decentralized application, the organizations who rely primarily on code. Okay, so XYZ conditions have to be met, and you set conditions, and you capture that inside a smart contract, and then it's going to be able to be executed automatically. So let's say you buy shoes from me. You're in a different country. I ship the shoes. You send the money. I won't get the money. It's held by a trusted third party. And then I make the shoes. I dispatch it. I dispatch the shoes for your nini, for transit. And then I scan a code. And I I send it to them,
Yeah.
to the third party. Once you receive the code, so let's say there's a process. So once it gets to the ship, once it gets to the people who are going to be shipping it, also they scan the code and then it's updated to the third party. They're able to see the process. It's gone from my hands. It's in the shipper's hands. Once the shipper gets to your destination country, it's scanned again. Somebody says it's the system knows it's reached the destination country, and then once you finally get it, you take a picture on your phone and the QR code or the barcode, and this, once the third party sees that you received the shoe, then it disperses the money to me.
Another question.
Such systems are already there, especially even in the current financial system.
No, I was asking. I needed clarification on that when it comes to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So now, a question. I want to buy my guns from North Korea. Why is it so easy to buy them? Isn't it a bit of a enabler for illegal trade?
Certainly, especially with...
And how can you live?
With privacy
how do you
coins.
sleep at night?
Well, I'm not the right person to answer that question. But Bitcoin, especially in the early days, used to be abused a lot by people,
Criminals.
criminals. And I saw a report by the FBI saying that Bitcoin is actually one of the best inventions that has helped them, because they were able to track. Again, everything is transparent on the blockchain. As long as you have access, you can be able to see everything that's happening. So, if I sent you some money, a third party, let's say, the government can come and see I sent you the money. It can also check where I got the money from, where that person got the money from, they can trace it back up to the originator. Yeah. So if you use a transparent network like Bitcoin or Ethereum, it can be accessed. You can use certain networks such as Monero.
What about the ones that are not very transparent?
Yes, precisely. Monero. They're called privacy coin. Yes, and those ones are certainly lending themselves to
government
bad actors. No, so the way they are made is even the people in control of the system can't, or the people who make the system can't really see everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because if they're subpoenaed and they have to give all the information that they have.
So it's kind of even absolving them. They know they've created something bad, so they're just absolving themselves from criminal culpability.
I wouldn't say bad, because look at it this way. What about people who are politically, what they call politically exposed personalities? If the president of your country doesn't like you,
why would if the president doesn't like me, then maybe I deserve it. I mean, the president doesn't like me.
No, not necessarily.
I might be a big fish, though.
No, when you look at Bobby Wine in Uganda.
Yeah, he's a jerk.
Well,
he should be locked away and throw the keys. And I'm just messing.
Yeah. So.
But I get your point there. Make your point.
Yeah. So if somebody in power considers you to be a threat that needs to be eliminated, what are the things that they usually do? They'll block your money.
They'll just send guys and just beat the crap out of you.
They'll beat you, but after you escape, when you go to another country, how do you get your money?
You go to the bank.
Your bank account has been frozen.
I'm just messing in it. Yeah.
By the government. So
it helps.
Yeah.
So but so now the
question, the anonymity aspect is important, not just for protecting criminals, but the other people who stand to benefit. Or if you want to make an anonymous donation to I don't know, organizations that...
How about you send them the money and tell them it's anonymous?
But
send them a check.
The check, there's a money trail when the money leaves your bank account to their bank account. And the government can be able to see all those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the thing is, what you guys are trying to do essentially is completely remove the government from the equation. And remove government oversight.
Remove any centralized institutions.
But are you getting my point that centralization of institution is not necessarily the worst thing? It's like, we have a road with potholes, but then you guys decide, you know what, let's just remove the entire road and start flying. You get, like, how about we try to look at the things that are bad and we try to fix these problems? But anyway, that's a discussion.
First of all, humans are flawed. Any system that's going to have to rely on human intervention lends itself to all the weaknesses and biases of humanity. But if you can set up a computer system that follows strict rules about how to act and act in the best interests of the people in the ecosystem, that's better than any human.
I have a question. Do you know things called solar flares?
What's that?
Solar flares are emissions from the sun that are usually electromagnetic in nature, that charged, that comes towards the earth. Fortunately, the earth is able to, most of the time, the polarity of that is able to diffuse it, and it doesn't have an effect on us. But God forbid, we get to a point where it infiltrates our atmosphere, because it can happen. It's happened before. The entire electrical infrastructure, even including our televisions, that anything that will be on that requires any form of electricity, goes down. Doesn't that mean then, if we're in a world where we are dependent fully on the grid and computers, we are going to we're going to obliterate our entire financial system?
That's
All the financial crises have been caused by the government.
No, they've not been caused by the government.
They have been caused by
But sometimes they've been caused by COVID. So my point is, isn't there a risk of putting everything online? Our entire economic system, putting it online.
There's risks to everything. There's also a risk of continuing the way we are with the massive amounts of printing money and bad actors.
So how do you get credit using the Bitcoin now? How do we?
So no, that's an interesting thing. Exchanges such as Binance offer something called leveraged. I've forgotten the terms, but there's a way you can get credit. There's also something called automatic market makers. So if you're familiar with market makers from the world of Forex, when there's a shortfall, maybe I'm not the best person to explain this, but if there's a shortfall for supply, so I want to buy 300 Bitcoin, there's not enough Bitcoin in the market, in the open market. So there's an organization that can automatically lend me money,
and then you give them that extra Bitcoin.
So of course they're going to charge me interest.
But it will be in Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
But then there's two problems with that. First problem, there is a finitude of the number of Bitcoins that exist, right? So there's only so much to go around. You see, the difference with our current system is the fact that there's infinitesimal number of money that you can create out of thin air. But now with Bitcoin, you mentioned earlier that there's finitude.
But the value isn't finite, though.
No, but now a question can be asked. A question can be asked. Then, fine, fair enough. But doesn't that then bring us back to the same problem? If you're able to still create credit, doesn't it bring us back to the same problem that you're having with the current financial system?
See, the money isn't coming from thin air. It's actually being backed by people and liquidity pools. People who've supplied their money, who supplied their cryptocurrency in order for it to be availed so that they can earn the interest. So there's these things called liquidity pools. So if in the example of Bitcoin, if there's a shortfall, if you need to purchase 300 Bitcoin and the market doesn't have enough, it can go and fetch from a liquidity pool. And once there's more people who are willing to sell, the money is going to be automatically recouped into the liquidity pool. However, you'll be charged an interest for that. And the people who contributed to the liquidity pool are going to share the amount of interest.
But now you realize interest in and of itself is usually creating new value out of nowhere. You realize that's what interest is, right?
Not in this case.
Then make me understand. Where is it going to come from? Because if all of us borrow money, let's assume all of us borrow. Yeah. Where is it going to come from? So we have to create. First of
all, we won't be borrowing all the amount of money in the world.
Fair enough.
Secondly, if in the example I needed 300 Bitcoin, and let's say the interest is 2%, what is going to happen is that I'll receive 294 Bitcoin. Okay, so and then the amount is the remaining amount is dispersed to the members of the liquidity pool. Proportionally.
But now you realize we've created 4 more Bitcoins.
No, you've not created any form of bitcoins.
What have you created?
You've received 98% of the money.
Then there's something I'm not getting. So, it's the value. So what you do? Okay, I get what you're saying. So what you're saying is that we are playing with the value, not with the number of bitcoins that exist.
Yes, precisely. Now, here's the thing. Once we've minted the 21 million bitcoins, because that's the maximum amount. Once you've minted the 21 million bitcoins, the value of one bitcoin is not static. It's changing. So if Bitcoin right now is 66,000, how many? Okay, so Bitcoin right now is 66,000. There's only going to be 21 million bitcoins that are ever going to be mined. The human race is, what's our current population?
7 billion.
7 billion. So that's one bitcoin per 300 people or 3,000 people. Some ridiculous figure like that. I might have done it wrongly.
Definitely.
Yeah, so it's 1 to 300 or 3,000 people. It's going to reach a place where the value of Bitcoin won't just be 66,000. It might reach $500,000. It might reach, I don't know, $1 million, the price of one Bitcoin. But again, it's fungible, so you can have a billionth of that.
You know the irony of
So
Bitcoin.
if you need to, if I need to pay you, I won't be paying you one Bitcoin. I'll be paying you, if I had a meal worth $10, I'll be paying you $10 worth of Bitcoin.
Then you realize that the
market price.
The irony of Bitcoin is the fact that your value is dependent on a system you're trying to destroy. Like,
Yes.
How does that work?
Now, what they've created is they've created these things called stable coins, and the most popular stable coins are USDC, which is run by Coinbase. By the way, Coinbase opened the operations in Africa and I think even in Kenya, so you can start transacting on Coinbase. There is another one called Tether. The symbol is USDT, and what's the other one? There's another very popular one. Okay, so these two, instead of being pegged to, instead of having their value floating freely, they track the value of the US dollar. So even in a lot of exchanges, when you'll see when you see the price of something listed, they don't list it as one USD, or rather, when they say the price of one Bitcoin, they don't refer to it as $66,000. They refer to it as 66,000 USDT. However, these USDT is also tracking the US dollar, but it's a way of using an on-chain mechanism to track off-chain things. But
are you guessing the irony though?
But here's the thing: because they already exist, what if we did away with the US dollar?
No, we have a problem.
Certainly.
If
These things are too
if you're
enmeshed.
if you're to get rid of the fiat currency, we have a problem even with Bitcoin.
Yeah, and like
because
I said,
we can't scale our economies anymore.
and they said this is a very complex issue.
Yeah, it's
There's a lot of moving parts. There's a huge learning curve. I don't know everything.
And the one with the bigger massive might end up winning, right?
Yeah, I've probably made a bunch of mistakes in my assumptions in the things that I've said already. So there's a lot of things that are changing.
Now, assume that you've convinced us. How does someone invest in Bitcoin? Where do I start? Are they at the market? Is there like some guy distributing them? What happens?
So the first thing,
or do I need to see someone behind the tent?
like with any investment, I think the fundamentals of all investments come into play. So you have to look at several things. Your risk appetite. And I think somebody mentioned this in an earlier podcast. Yeah, so there's your risk appetite, how much you're willing to play with, and what your goals are. Okay, so I would say, why do you want to invest in Bitcoin? Why not Ethereum? There is 10,000 coins listed on CoinGecko alone. So why not any one of the 10,000? Why that particular one?
We have over 1,000 different Bitcoins, cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
So I have one of the biggest problems I have with it is which is the one that you guys want to ask to take up? Because say if I'm on Ethereum and you guys have your Bitcoins, is there an exchange rate? Like how
The exchange rate is always fluctuating, first of all.
so there is an exchange rate.
Yes, that's why there's exchanges like Binance and Coinbase. So there's centralized exchanges like those two I just mentioned, and there's decentralized exchanges such as Uniswap, PancakeSwap, SushiSwap, CoffeeSwap. The difference between these two is that for centralized exchanges like Binance and Coinbase, what you have is something called, I think Hotbit, if I'm not wrong. You have your wallet is a custodial wallet, meaning it's in the custody of somebody else, of a centralized entity like Coinbase. And Coinbase is the organization that holds your privacy, that holds your wallet's keys. And what you need to do to log in is add some, use your email address and password. And Coinbase also will conduct something called a KYC, know your
customer.
Yeah. So they'll need some information about you, some identification, legal identification about you. Whereas other exchanges, such as the biggest DEX, decentralized exchange, is one of the biggest ones, is called Uniswap. So it runs on the Ethereum blockchain. And this one, they won't ask you to. It's decentralized, so it's not controlled by one singular entity, meaning that anybody can publish their coin there, can list their coin there. No, with the case of Binance, for example, Binance has a quality control team that looks into the quality of each coin that before it's listed onto the exchange. On Uniswap, it's anything goes, which means that you have to do your own research. The other thing about when you're interacting with a DEX is that you use a non-custodial wallet. So what's a non-custodial wallet?
First of all, it's a wallet.
Okay, so a wallet, like your real life wallet, is where you hold your is where you hold your crypto assets. So notice I've not said cryptocurrency, I've said crypto assets, because beside the currencies there are other types of tokens. NFTs. We'll get into those later. So you need to have those your keys. It's called a recovery phrase or a seed phrase. So they usually give it to you, and you have to print it out or copy it down on a piece of paper and store it in a safe place. Because if you lose access to your account, that recovery phrase is what is going to help you. If you lose access to that, then your funds are lost forever. No, the thing about a non-custodial wallet like MetaMask, I personally like MetaMask a lot. So with a non-custodial wallet is that you can use it across multiple exchanges. So with the money in your Binance account, you can only use it on Binance. You can only transact your assets on Binance. But with your MetaMask, you can connect it to OpenSea, you can connect it to SushiSwap, PancakeSwap, and the like.
Okay.
Yeah, you can just move from exchange to exchange. It's like carrying your wallet from different market to different market.
So you can be able, there's a way of reconciling the different cryptos.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So
different exchanges.
Yeah.
And in your wallet you can have multiple cryptos. So in your MetaMask you can hold some Ethereum, you can hold some Binance, you can hold Ethereum based, they are called ERC20 tokens. So out of the 10,000, here's something interesting that I find personally interesting. So out of the 10,000 tokens that are there on CoinGecko, about a huge percentage of them don't have their own blockchains. Because as I mentioned earlier, it requires significant upfront investment. Yeah, you need to develop the code, and then on top of that, you have to find a way to entice people to join your network. And are you really going to join 10,000 networks? So the guys at Ethereum, very, very smart. It's led by somebody called Vitalik Buterin, one of the pioneers of technology in our generation. So they invented something called ERC20 tokens. With an ERC20 token, it allows you to create a token that is housed on the Ethereum exchange. It's on the Ethereum blockchain. So you would have to create your own blockchain.
So someone can, if I wanted my own kind of cryptocurrency, I can base it off of the Ethereum blockchain.
So you can create your own coin and have it on on Ethereum.
That's good.
running there.
So now a question can be asked. Now my mom has understood what a wallet is and what blockchain is. So where does she start?
So again, you need to have that conversation with yourself. What are you trying to achieve?
I want to buy Bitcoin.
Why do you want to buy Bitcoin?
Because I want to make a lot of money. I want to be rich.
So you want to be
I
rich.
got a bonus of 500k and now I want to make it into 590k. Where do I start?
What's your investment horizon?
500k.
How long do you want to turn it to 590?
At this point I'm on a high. I don't care. Let me not use what I was about to say. I don't care. I want to have this money. I want to buy coins.
Okay.
Where do I begin? Is there an app? Is there like an agency?
So for most beginners, I would advise you to start with a centralized exchange, because as I mentioned earlier, they've got their own quality control measures. Like for example, Binance has a team that before any coin is listed on Binance, there are a bunch of things that they have to check off.
So when you talk about agency, I want you to break it down, like
exchange.
The exchanges, sorry. So do I Google them and then like they have an office and then there's a guy who's going to call me? My point is, how do you do it?
So the biggest crypto exchanges are centralized crypto exchanges are Binance and Coinbase. Those are certainly the most popular. Binance is the biggest one globally, and they've got a very good operation running in Africa already. Although recently adding your money to Binance is becoming a bit of a headache. They keep changing the system every single day. So if you are to go on Binance, let's use Binance as an example. You can buy using your credit card, or you can buy using something called P2P. So they've got actually initially the people who started buying Bitcoins or buying them on a website called localbitcoins.com. And there you essentially buy them from another person, and they'll send them to your wallet. So a wallet is a software that holds your crypto assets. This piece of software can be a mobile app. It can be an
account in a website. No, it's not centralized. So
yes. So if you have it in a centralized exchange, an account in a centralized exchange, you've got what is known as a non-custodial wallet. If you run the wallet yourself, like Trust Wallet, and you have the keys, you have the recovery code, that's a custodial wallet. It can be an app. It can be an account in an exchange like Binance. It can also be an extension, a browser extension like on Chrome. MetaMask has a Chrome extension, and also it can be a hardware wallet. So hardware wallet is something. It looks like a USB device, but that's what holds your crypto. So if you have a large amount of crypto, like if you bought, though you mentioned 500,000 shillings worth of crypto, I wouldn't recommend just having it in your browser, in your MetaMask, in your browser. Things happen. Yeah. I know somebody who got wiped. He made a transaction, went to sleep, left the stuff on his computer, woke up the next morning, it was gone.
And that is where we have a problem with crypto, brought to you by the Kenyan government. So I'm asking, when I feel like you're not simplifying it
so
enough, because I have my 500k. I want to buy crypto. You've mentioned a number of things.
Okay, so step-by-step process. Number one, go to Binance.com. Click on create an account or sign up. You'll create an account. It will take some of your details. You need to do a KYC process. Know your customer. That means you'll need to take a photograph. Need to take some pictures of your ID. They'll need to do like a scan of your face using your webcam or something.
Yeah.
And then from that point, you'll need to fund your account. So funding your account, you can either use your credit card or you can use P2P. With P2P,
or even debit card is fine, right?
Or a debit card, yeah. So with P2P, Binance has a section on their website where you can buy from other people. Instead of not buying from the mass market, people can list their prices. Say, I'm selling Bitcoin at 64,000 See, the market price is 66,000 at the moment. I'm selling Bitcoin at 64,000. You can buy Bitcoin worth between 10,000 shillings and 40,000 shillings at a go. And then, you click on that person, and you should also view the trust rating. Of course, don't just buy from anyone, because there are crooks there. A lot of people from West Africa, won't mention the countries.
Yeah.
But yeah, not all of them are actually bad, because most guys are actually just trying to find a way to make it big. Yeah. So from there you buy the coin that you want. So you can check. They have the different currencies. The most popular ones are the biggest ones. So you can buy USDT. You can buy, if I'm not wrong, you can buy Bitcoin. You can buy Ethereum. You can buy Binance Coin, BNB. You can buy Cardano, ADA, and several.
Which one is the best?
Best for
I know
what?
it's a stupid question.
Best for what?
But in terms of like the how much it's appreciated over the years.
I can give you some crazy examples. Even just opening Bitcoin. If you open CoinGecko at the moment, I can show you a coin. What's it called? The Rift token. That's up something like 53,000% in the last 2 months alone. Dogecoin. Mm-hmm. If you check how much Dogecoin has grown, I bet you guys, if you go, Billy can go to coingecko.com and can be able to see how much these people are, how much the coin has appreciated in a period, in a set period. So you've got coins that are being launched today, and within a month they're up 10,000%.
Yeah. Okay.
So the first thing that you need to do, don't just rely on the news or your friends. First thing you should do as a crypto investor, critical, is do your own research.
Okay.
Don't take anybody's advice blindly.
Just do your own research.
If you hear something from somebody, don't just buy because of their conviction. Go and do your research. Does this make sense to you? Yes.
Okay.
Here's another practical tip. So when I got started, there's a huge risk of using all your money. Of losing all your money, especially it's a new system. It's not what you're used to. You might don't really understand what's happening. There's so many ways of playing around with your money in the crypto space. So first of all, don't invest any more than you're willing to lose. I think that's a rule from gambling, in the gambling world. Don't play with any amount of money that you're not willing to lose. Secondly, don't bet all your money at once. Okay, test. What I did, so when I started, I used to make purchases in batches of $100. So the way I do it is, I buy $100 worth of BNB. That's Binance Coin. So I'll divide it into 35 lots, 20 lots of $2 each, and 15 lots of $40 each. First one adds to $40, the second one adds up to $60. So if I'm really confident about a coin, I'd spend one lot of the bigger of the 15. So I'd spend $4 on it and forget about it. If there's a coin that I like, but I think is high risk, I'd place $2 on it. So it kind of hedges itself out. Yeah. At least in the early stages when you're learning. You want to design. You're definitely going to lose some money, and don't think of you losing that money as a sunk cost. Think of it as the cost of learning. Yeah.
Okay. That's very interesting. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I think I've learned a lot about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I don't know, you keep saying Bitcoin to refer to cryptocurrency. Nikawa kusema ni ile blue band ya nini ama Omea Sunlight. But anyway, yeah. Thank you so much for your time. I think the information has been very valuable to the people. Hope we will be able to continue having more discussions like this.
Awesome.
So where can we find your details?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn, Felix Karanja. You can also check me out. My website is, write me an email as well. It's felix@kooni.co.ke. That's felix@kooni.co.ke. That's my business website. Like I said, I run I run a marketing agency. That's my day-to-day job. Yeah, those are my two major social ways of linking with me.
thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. This was actually quite refreshing.
Yes, I always enjoy having people who know their stuff on the podcast. Asante sana. Anyway, so thank you guys for joining us. We hope you had a good time as I did. See you next time. Bye.